Chuck, so I have this presentation that I will be presenting at a conference, a writing conference this summer. And I have 50 minutes, 50, to present this information to a group of people who will be filtering in from a crowd of 500 attendees. I will have no idea what the population is like, the analysis. I mean, I have a kind of a general idea based on the conference itself, but I don't know what they're coming in to learn, other than they'll see the title of my presentation, which is How to Master Your Plot, by charting your master scenes. And I have 50 minutes to present this topic to hopefully let them walk out of there with some takeaways that they can go and start writing their novel, planning it. If they're planners, this is going to be perfect for them. Some people are not planners when they write, but some are. I am. They like structure. They need structure. And this idea, this concept I want to present to them will teach them or give them ideas on how to chart those master scenes so that they can then have a structure to their novel writing process. Mm-hmm. My question to you, Chuck, is this is not a course.
This is not
I will not be applying Gagney's 9 events of learning.
You're not probably going to have any chance at mastery at any degree. And this is the challenge that instructional designers, especially novice designers, and I've seen it hundreds of times, when they're doing projects for one of my courses or doing something like that. They say they're going to do a presentation and they want to use that for their project. And I have to explain, there's no way that you can broadcast information for 55 minutes and expect that to be a course. It's not going to happen. You can certainly dispense information. You can certainly get people to think about things. You can create visibility for whatever it is you're doing. You can do all these wonderful things, but can you call it a course? And I think what's important to these is we look at this for a second, step back, and say, okay, let me ask you first, what do you want to accomplish? Do you want to broadcast information? Do you want them to be able to do something at the end of this besides just having heard you? Do you want them to walk out with a new skill or a new way of looking at something? And if you are going to do a large group, and you are confined to a short period of time, an hour or less, I mean, you could do a course in that. But the logistics of doing things with a group that large, it becomes complicated. And with that being said, I can make the argument that you can still have a worthwhile experience here because you can do things peer-to-peer. You can have audience members work with other audience members. You can do self-evaluation. You can do all kinds of things that you can push a skill up the hill if you want to. And if you want to take it from being an ordinary session to something where you feel that they walk away with something, that is possible to do. But you got to change your mindset about what this is. So I think the largest group that I ever did a course with in a limited amount of time was almost 500 people. And one of the things that I've designed in the past was to be implemented in groups, in community groups, up to 1,000 people. And we had interactive exercises in that. Mm-hmm. So you can do this, but your mindset has to change from being a presenter or a lecturer or an influencer, whatever you want to think of yourself as. And you got to go and, notch up the professionalism about 3 score. And now you're an instructional designer putting together a conference session. Different thing.
Yes. And, you asked, what is my desire for this group of people? That could range from 50 people to realistically 300 of them may come to this master class.
Yep.
And there'll be no other master classes going on at the same time as this one. There'll be panel sessions, but for the most part, this is the master class at that time.
Yeah. And
it is primarily a conference for literature, but a lot of writers go to this conference to learn skills, to take home new ideas and new ways of thinking of things. And so that would be my goal, is to make sure that the people attending walk out of that room with a new skill that they can then go home, sit at their laptop or sit on their deck with their pen and paper and start charting their master scenes.
Okay, so what we have now is what? A terminal objective. You want them to be able to, and let's just say for the sake of it, demonstrate the ability to do that. And so this is the first place that we step off of this notion of being a presenter to being a designer. The first thing you want to do is in your design, and the first thing you want to convey to your audience is what you expect them to leave with. Okay, so at the end of this 55 minutes, at the end of this session, I want all of you to be able to do the following. Bingo. You've already got first two of Gagne's 9 events. You've got gaining attention, and now we're going to get into direction. Okay, so now you go into recall and say, all of you know what a plot line is, or all of you know what this is. And what we're going to do now is explore how to do X, which is what you want them to do. So then you're into number 4.
We're going through, baby.
You're going through it, right? So you're into content, and you can lecture or present or do slides or however you want to do it. Now we're going to get into 5, 6, and 7, which is
content.
You're going to have them apply it, and then you're going to give them feedback.
Okay.
So with large groups, it's just a matter of scale. You want to have exercises that you can work in pairs or in small groups. Depending on how your seating is in this conference, if it's a lecture hall kind of thing, then
a lecture hall type of thing.
Okay, so pick tables, pick 2 friends.
Right, big tables with with chairs. One thing, though, Chuck, that I do know about this population is a lot of them are introverted. They like to work.
Even better.
Oh yeah, they like to work on their own. A lot of them do not want to socialize.
No, that's fine.
So,
and what you can do is you can set this up so that they can do the exercise and then self-evaluate. And essentially, that's what they're going to do.
That to me sounds like it would match the audience better from what I do know of them. Some of them would be fine working in pairs, but there are people who are going there for the first time. And when I tell you,
they're not gonna
when you start to see online before the event happens, they're freaking out like, oh my God, it's my first time going to this conference. I'm so nervous. I'm not going to know anybody. I'm going to feel silly sitting by myself, eating lunch by myself.
And this is the added advantage of doing it this way, is that you ease them into this notion of sharing their work and sharing community. So you say, why don't you find someone close to you, or if there's a couple of you that came together, whatever, why don't you work as a group? Don't put a number on it. For those of you that would just prefer to do it alone, that's fine too, because I'm going to show you how you can evaluate your own stuff. And then you create this whole scenario. So you go through 5, 6, and 7, present 2 or 3 different things that you want them to do, go through a way of providing them feedback, and make sure your materials are up to snuff. I mean, you're going to have to have really good materials, and they're going to be able to look at their work and self-evaluate whether they met the criteria for mastery. Do that 3 times. Now you're up to 8 in evaluation. And the best thing you're going to do with a group at large is just have them self-evaluate the experience. Not a level 1 level, but a level 2. Do you feel now that you can go ahead and do X?
When you say self-evaluate, is that what you mean? Is it a literal question thrown out to them, asking them to consider if they feel like they have the tools now to go out and write up?
Well, what you're going to do, you're going to give them 3 things to do, or 2 things to do. Okay, so now write down a plot point, or write down a start. I'm not a novelist, so I'm the last person in the world to ask this question. But the point being X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So these 3 things, you say, now I want you to do the following. And you give them time to do it. You take questions while they're thinking it through. And then you say, now let's look at what you've got and compare it to what I consider to be a good way to look at this. Then you present what you think it should look like.
Could you do like volunteer?
Is this what yours looks like?
Okay. Gotcha.
Could you do this? You want to know, did you do this? Okay, so look at what you've done and compare it to what I'm going to show you up here.
Okay.
And see where this resonates with what you've done and where it doesn't. If there are places where it doesn't resonate and you want to talk about it, we'll do that. But you should generally have something that looks like this. Now, let me ask you, how many of you feel like you've got something that looks like this?
Okay. And then if the whole room doesn't raise their hand?
They won't, believe me. This will be so well designed and so above what everybody has in conferences. People are used to going to conferences and they sit there and they drink a big coffee because they're going to be asleep at the end of it.
Yep.
Unless the presenter is really somebody that they've known from before, that they respect, or that's incredibly talented at facilitating. Most conferences are not like that.
No, I know. I've been to so many of them, and you're absolutely right.
So when you think about this, what you want to do is you want to create the space for them to come in, listen, perform, receive feedback, and then feel more confident with their ability to do whatever it is you want them to do. And you can do this in 50 minutes. You can go from being a conference presenter that they're never going to remember to a conference presenter that taught them a skill that they'll walk away with. So when people say you can't do courses and conferences, you can't do it with large groups, that's all nonsense. A really talented instructional designer, which you are, is able to do this. What you need to do is get out of the mindset of being a conference presenter and go back to being an instructional designer and someone who's going to engineer a product that everybody's going to enjoy participating in, and that you're going to be able to show mastery in a skill or set of skills in a limited amount of time.
I'm excited now because I will be honest, when I first accepted the presenter position for this, I was nervous at first because I thought, gosh, can I really pull this off? 50 minutes to teach this it's a complex skill set that I'm trying to teach. But I think it's just breaking it down into chunks, little manageable steps, and understanding that understanding that there's a lot of breadth and depth to this particular subject, and just breaking it down to the most basic parts so that people can walk away feeling empowered with some kind of knowledge that they can go home and do something with. And that's really the goal. So
see, that's the difference. And as an instructional designer, remember, you got a super system hanging here. All these things are working together. And your systems include not only your instructional design system, but you have the conference system. Okay, everybody came with a certain set of expectations. You've got the system that integrates your population. You've got a system that integrates what people are going to leave with. So your super system of instructional design and engineering this product is what? It's all this stuff that you already know. And it's just like when we went through remote learning in the last couple of years, this whole idea of bringing things up to scale. This is scaling up what you would do in classroom or online. And now instead of having a classroom with 10 or 15 students, you now have a room filled with 50, 100, 500. Doesn't matter. You still got the product. You still have the process. You will have success with this. And people will leave with a relatively high degree of mastery because you designed this product professionally. And all of these systems have created your super system that will now be able to get you through this conference. And all the other conference folks are going to say, what'd you do? And they're going to say, hey, I learned a new skill. This was really fun. And they're going to say, oh, I got to listen to so-and-so for 55 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Color me silly, but I think that's a better approach.
I feel really empowered right now, and I'm excited to put this together and just see where it takes me. So thank you for giving me that confidence. Thank you for mentoring me through this process, and also for mentoring everybody else who is viewing this particular video. I think this is going to be an important video for a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there who are tasked with presenting at conferences or workshops, and they don't know where to start. And because I felt that way, and I have been studying instructional design, and thank you for reminding me that this is a super system. This is a process, an engineering process of instruction. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Oh, and you know what? Every designer watching this, whether you've been doing this 3 weeks or 300 years, remember, everything you approach, it's a system. So just take your inputs, mix them all together, find the best resonance, put together your product, and sit back and watch for mastery. You got it all under control.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this video. Feel free to put some comments, questions in the chat, in the comment section, I should say, and we will answer them. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these types of videos. Thanks again.